Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Spencer Penrod. I am someone who has been making worlds for years for stories and D&D campaigns and all sorts of things like that. I am taking a look today at MILGRAM, picking up from where we left off last time to try and examine some of the world building details and figuring out what's going on with some of the mysteries and strange details that we've seen so far. Um, Last time we were introduced to the concept that we were the singular guard of this prison of 10 murderers, except we don't actually know what any of them have done, or even if they've done anything. Some of them might be innocent. And the only way we can find out for sure is to view their memories, which we can actually only view in music video form. We then talked a little bit and introduced ourselves and got introductions from all of the prisoners, and seemingly got some peek into their minds with like some inner thoughts. It was a little unclear what was going on there. But yeah, there are 3 more parts to this tutorial segment from what I understand. And then we get into the real meat of it with the first of the prisoners. I still don't really know what to expect from this, but I'm excited to see what more we learn. So let's go ahead and jump right into this and start listening to the S voice drama. We are S, by the way, it seems.
分かったな。ああ、そろそろ囚人どもが気づく時間だね。準備はできてるね。ミルグラム、第一審開始だ。てな。さあ、行くぞエース。
どこへ？
パノプティコン。囚人どもの部屋を一望できる場所だ。
パノプティコン。
記憶が曖昧なんだろ？道案内がてらいろいろ説明してやるよ。
ああ、頭に霞がかかっているようだ。すまない。
いいってことよ。いつもそうなんだ。
That's always the case, he says. That implies that this isn't the first time they've done this. We are not the first guard, and that they always lose their memory, which it would be a little weird if one guard were to lose their memory and still be kind of on the hook for doing the job. It is beyond unbelievable that that naturally happens to multiple guards. That really reinforces my theory that they have intentionally taken our memory, and that's why it's so hazy. Probably, again, to help make us more compliant, is my guess. I've got nothing else to really comment on so far, though.
大丈夫だ。仕事に支障はない。
オッケー。じゃあ行くぜ。
あ
うん。
どうした？撫でればいいのか？
ちげえよ！開けろよとは見やわかんだろ！
ああ。
Okay, the implication here is that Jackalope needs us to open the door because he's not tall enough. But Jackalope has referred to himself as our caretaker, seems to act as our superior, and is outfitted in the same uniform. I would really think that this place was designed so that he could navigate it. The fact that it isn't is very strange, especially if we are not really someone who's reliable or knows what's going on. It's weird for him to have to rely on us despite that. It makes it feel like this place wasn't meant for Jackalope to be here very frequently. And that we're probably going to be on our own a lot more. Or it's just a real big flaw. Or maybe Jackalope wasn't always a Jackalope and was previously human or something, and so it wasn't an obstacle when this place was designed, but now it is.
疑問なんだが、一人でドアも開けられないのに、なんでそんなに偉そうなんだ？
うるせえな。開けられないのはお前の寝室だけだ。他の部屋は俺様用の小さい入り口。
Okay, well, that explains a lot more of it. We were still in our room. I figured we were out in the middle, but it makes sense then that they have like one private room and then the rest have entrances designed for Jackalope, which means that he is really important, or there are other things like him that are important to this process. And the organization places value upon him or them enough to accommodate them in the design of this structure.
入り口があんだよ。誰が小さいんだこれ。
僕は何も言ってない。長い通路だな。
ここ、お前の寝室が通路の端っこだ。この通路は挟むようにしていろんな部屋と施設があるわけ。全部説明してるとキリがねえから今日は省くけどね。
僕の部屋の向かいはなんだ？
俺様の部屋だな。許可なく入んじゃねえぞ。
予定はないから大丈夫。それに見たところ人間が通れる大きさの扉がない。
うん、それもそうだ。ここが囚人用のシャワー室。向かい側が倉庫。必要な備品は大抵ここ。
囚人用。この通路は囚人も出入りするんだな。
ねえ、通行を許可する時間やらシャワーを男女別にするかどうかやら細かい生活のルールはお前が後で決めりゃいい。
僕が決めるのか？
おう。このミルグラムをどう管理運営していくのかお前に。
So a lot of pauses, or a lot less pauses here so far than we're used to, because there's mostly just talking, not a lot of visuals to go off of. And they're largely talking about things that don't give us details about the world. But here we're hearing that they are leaving the administration up to us, which again makes us more than just a guard. Now we're some kind of like warden or chief or something of the prison, which makes sense if we're the only one here, but also is kind of weird because it seems like the Jackalope would be the one deciding this, or like MILGRAM would have procedures in place. It's weird to me that they have a few set rules that are unarguable, like separate shower times, but the rest of it is administered by us. We can choose basically anything else we want. It's not like that's a bad rule to have set in stone. It's just curious that that's kind of where they draw the line, and we can make this place as hellish as we want outside of that.
全部任せてる。地獄にするも天国にするもお前次第や。
わかった。
なんでかとは聞かねえんだね。
そういうものなんだろう。僕にはこの監獄を管理する義務がある。不完全な記憶な。
That's extremely suspicious to me, that the only thing they remember is that they have a duty to govern the prison. Once again, I feel like this is pointing at artificial memory manipulation, that they've taken away everything and implanted this duty so that we are forced to do our job. And I guess that probably explains my question from last episode about why would we even pass judgment on these people when we're apparently such a shady organization going around the law and have no actual authority. it's likely that the responsibility for making those decisions is part of what is implanted within us.
中でもそれだけは覚えている。
上出来で。
なあジャッカロープ、
なんだよ。
もっと早く歩いてくれないと踏んでしまう。
体のサイズ考えろ。人間様がウサギに合わせるよ。誰がウサギだこら。
僕は何も言っていない。
たくよ。ああ、ここが食堂ね。
そういえば誰が食事を用意するんだ。僕とお前以外に管理人がいるのか。
俺様が作ってんだよ。
なるほど。なるほど。
実は俺様はこの監獄の料理長でもある。和洋中何でもござるぜ。
ちょっとした疑問な。
That's exactly what I was wondering. I'm glad that they asked that question because I was trying to figure out how it operates a kitchen. Yeah, I guess I'll just wait and see if they tell us.
なんだが、その手でフライパンやら包丁やら持てるのか。
ぐっと気合を入れたらモテる。
持てるのか。その毛とか入らないのか。
毛の生え変わり時期はすごく生える。
すごく入るのか。
ほら、バカ言ってる間についたぞ。その扉を開ける。
Okay, so that's strange. It definitely seems like something a caretaker would do. But it seems weird and impractical. It also makes me think there's not magic. Because if the jackalope was magic, he could presumably use that to help cook instead of like whatever horribly inconvenient process it seems like he uses. Once again, though, just demonstrating that everything here is laid out in like the most nonsensical, inconvenient way possible. It's definitely to the point where it's intentional. And I don't think it's just intentional to make a joke. I think it's intentional to make this place worse. Like, to upset people's balance and put them off kilter. I don't know what end there would be, like why it would be doing that, but it seems like there's no way that this could be the result of intentional design unless that design was intentionally meant to be bad.
ければミルグラムの中心部パノプティコンだ。
これがパノプティコン。ドーム状になっているんだな。
おう、今俺様たちはこの丸い部屋の北側12時の位置にある扉から入ってきたことになる。
それぞれの扉が囚人の部屋か。
そういうことだ。この部屋を時計に見立てると囚人番号と時刻が一致してるってわけ。
All right. So, let me cut out this bit while I'm navigating to the other video here. But I want to pull up the map that we saw.
よう、起きたかい ?S。あ？ウサギが喋ってる？忘れちまってんのか。そっか。お前はあいつらの罪を許すか許さないかを1日1回投票する権利がある。全員の囚人が収監されてる。どいつもこいつもパッと見シュッとした見た目のやつらだけどね。騙されんじゃねえぞ。あいつらは漏れなく。
All right, so this is the map that we saw before. it seems like we started here. Like, this is our room. This is Jackalope's room. Then we had the showers, the storage room, the cafeteria. I don't think they pointed out another one. So maybe there's just 2 cafeterias. These look really similar. And then we come in here. It's interesting that he said that we're at the northmost point, the 12 o'clock, because the map they gave us has it at the eastmost point. So we need to rotate this. And then we also see, I mean, like, the numbers of the prisoners here obviously match up with the clock, like he said. 9, 10. But we don't have 11 prisoners, do we? Did I forget the name or the number that we had? Let me see. Yeah, no, we only have 10 prisoners. So it's weird, like, we see number 000 here after number 10. And then 12 is the door out of it. So that feels conspicuous that there's no 11. We also haven't had this big room here at the end explained to us. So I'm curious about that. I'm curious about that, and then the one room here that we didn't hear about. But yeah, let's, I guess, get back into it. There's not much to say other than we now have points on that map that are actually explained.
覚えやすくていいだろう。
なるほどね。
まだもうちょっと時間があるな。軽く囚人どもの紹介をしといてやるよ。つっても俺様も面しか見てねえんだけどね。まず1時の1の部屋。囚人番号1番桜井遥。ややこしい名前だが男だ。
桜井遥。
ねくらそうな顔してやがったな。ま、うまいこと心開かせていろいろ聞き出してくれや。
ただ。
This is weird that he says he only has seen their faces, but he seems to have insight into them as people. I mean, I guess saying if you open up his heart, you'll hear lots is not exactly a specific prediction. You could say that about basically anyone, but it sounds more like he's speaking of this guy as an individual and giving insight into how to deal with him, which doesn't match with him saying he doesn't know anything about them. So I wonder if we'll just get more generic advice for the rest of them or specific things about them.
ただ、その顔すら本当かはわからないのだろう。
よくわかってんじゃねえか。俺様たちを欺く擬態かもしれねえ。人間は嘘をつく生き物だからね。
覚えておく。
Interesting that he says humans are lying creatures when I'm pretty sure that he's been lying to us constantly, or at least omitting a lot of truths. At the very least, we know that he lied when he said they were all murderers because we are trying to determine whether they're innocent or guilty. And also, we don't even know what they've done. So he can't be always truthful. But he here is saying that we're the untruthful ones, not him. I think he's just trying to make us trust him more when he's like our only source of truth, or wanting to make us feel like he's our only source of truth, when in reality he's lying and manipulating us a lot.
次、2時の1、囚人番号2番、貸木優乃。若い女だって。高校生くらいじゃねえかな。
高校生くらい。囚人の年齢もわからないのか？
囚人のパーソナルなところに興味ねえからな、俺様。看守のお前が把握しとけばいい。次、3時の1。
It's also weird that this video is coming after the previous one, because we were just introduced to all of these prisoners as though we were doing our job and starting to interrogate them, or at least introducing ourselves to them. We also sounded much more sure of ourselves then compared to now. So I wonder, is the timeline just a little weird here? And the second video was supposed to come after this third one, timeline-wise? Or I think that's the only thing that makes sense, that we're looking at these not in a linear timeline, but in more of a narrative one. So we got the introduction first just because it narratively made more sense that we got attached to the characters, but this is what actually happened first.
囚人番号3番、梶山風太。若くてアホそうな男だ。俺様こいつ嫌い。
顔を見ただけなんだろ？
人間第一印象が9割だよ。俺様に投票権があったら迷わず有罪にしてるね。
So two interesting things here is that a human's first impressions reveal about 90%, he says. But these are his first impressions of humans. So I guess he must mean the first impression you get of a human reveals about 90% of them. He's told us before to just vote based on whether we like these people or not, or just vote all guilty. He seems to have no care at all for them. But he just continually nudges us to take things at surface value, like ridiculously so. Like he doesn't want us looking into things or thinking deeply. And I feel like that's really confusing to me because it doesn't make sense from any angle. If this place was genuinely trying to dish out justice, they would want you to look deeply to find the truth. If they were just trying to do some kind of psychological experiment on you, then I feel like they would still want you agonizing over it because it would help them get better information. So the fact that he's wanting us to remain surface level means that I think we're not guessing at the whole picture yet, and that there is something more complicated going on than just this sort of psychological experiment theory that I've got going on. I'm not sure what yet, but something is definitely pointing towards that being an incomplete theory. It's also interesting that he says he doesn't even have the right to vote here, whereas we know that we don't make the decision by ourselves. You would think that someone else, even if they're a jackalope, who's part of the same organization, the same prison, would have the ability to do that, but he doesn't. Maybe because he isn't human and seems to just hate all humans and want to kill them. But maybe it's something else.
そういうものかな。囚人番号4番は楠木ムー。女性か？
おお、やたら美人の姉ちゃんだ。逆にこっちは無罪にするな。美しい遺伝子は残すべきだ。
That's really creepy.
そんな欲にまみれた判断基準でいいのか？
じゃあ何を判断基準にするんだ？ただ法律に照らして裁くんだったらお前である意味がない。言ったろ？お前自身の基準で決めればいいって。 それが性や愛でも文句は言わねえよ。監獄な恋愛を禁止しやしねえからよ。
So, more interesting things here. We hear that, like, relationships between the guard and the prisoners are okay, and also that there's no point in judging them based on the law. From what we heard before, presumably because we are operating outside of the law already. Like, kind of like saying, if we're breaking the law to judge these people in the first place, what sense does it make to use the law to judge them? We need our own standard. But if that's the case, then there's no point in judgment at all. They're putting judgment so arbitrarily on the shoulders of someone who doesn't even have memories, like barely a personality at this point. So that really makes me feel like these prisoners are a giant red herring, that no matter what happens to them, it doesn't affect the point of this operation. And so that really points to S here being the crucial figure, but I still don't know what they want from them. Like, what do they want from us here? It's just confusing. But not necessarily different than what we've been expecting so far.
くだらないな。次は。
へえ。今回の看守さんはウブだこと。囚人番号5番、桐崎指導。年は30くらいかな。こいつは俺様に負けず劣らずの男前だな。色恋目線でいくと、こういうやつが集団に波乱を巻き起こしたりするんだよね。
真南6時の位置。これで半分か。
ここは囚人番号6番、椎名真昼。20代前半ってとこかな。俺様的にはこれくらいの女が一番好みだね。
ジャッカロープ。遊びじゃないんだろ。
Why is this jackalope so horny for human women? Obviously, it's not a normal animal, but it's really strange that it is so judgmental of people in this way that, like, feels very human. It doesn't feel at all like another type of creature is talking. It feels like another human is.
この仕事は
遊びのつもりはねえよ。この仕事の本質は人間を見ることだ。お前にもいずれわかる。囚人番号7番、向原和井。おっさんだ。今回の最年長じゃねえかな。
Also, weird here. Well, okay, a weird thing and a notable thing. First is that it's weird to call this guy out as the strongest when the jackalope has previously said all he's seen are their faces. You wouldn't be able to tell that just from a quick glance at someone. He might look the strongest, but he wasn't, like, insanely ripped compared to anyone else. So I don't think anything indicated that clearly. Maybe I'm not remembering what he looked like clearly enough. But there's also the fact that he calls out that he's the oldest one this time, implying that they've done this before. He's had that implication a couple of times when he says, like, oh, it's always like this where the guard loses their memories. Or this time the guard is wet behind the ears. It's just notable to keep hearing him point out that this is something that they have done repeatedly. And it seems like they change out everyone. They get a new guard, they get new prisoners. But the jackalope appears to stay because he is acting like he knows what's going on in these other cycles. Um, so if we assume that the prisoners are a red herring, then whatever process they're doing needs to affect the guards in a way that has a discrete end, or at least a point where they can transition them to something else to continue working on or monitoring or whatever it is they do. Um, Yeah, I think my current theory is just that they're trying to like mold you into someone who fits within a bigger organization. That would make sense to me. And then the previous guards were ones who kind of graduated to go work with MILGRAM elsewhere.
体格的にも戦闘になったらこいつがナンバーワンだろうね。
そうだ。囚人に襲われたらどうする？あまり言いたくはないが、僕の体格で抵抗できるとは思えない。
安心しな。囚人どもは俺様たち管理者への攻撃はできない。そういう仕組みになってる。
管理者へ。つまり囚人同士はそうではないと。
冴えてるじゃねえか。そういうこともあるかもしれない。お前の判決次第じゃね。さあ、次。
Okay. Footnote here. Okay, just a specific type of backpack.
Yeah,
it definitely is very weird that an elementary school student is here.
百瀬天音。聞いて驚け。なんとランドセル背負った女子小学生で。
そんな小さな子まで人殺しだというのか。
知らねえけどよ。幼ければ純粋で無垢で善良でっての。
Huh. I don't really care though. If you don't push her, you'll just end up believing the assumption that she's pure, innocent, and kind-hearted. Is he saying he doesn't care whether she actually killed someone? And we have to push her to find out whether she actually has? I feel like, once again, we're seeing him hinting that he knows more about these people and their situations than he's letting on. But also, again, showing that they probably just got like 10 random people off the streets. And they weren't murderers or anything. They just wound up here. Maybe some of them were murderers, so it wasn't entirely random. Like, some of the dialogue we were getting from the prisoners hinted that they definitely, like, messed people up, at least. But it didn't seem like anyone was admitting to a crime, which makes sense if they're not yet judged. Yeah, just a lot more hints here that things aren't as they seem.
もまた思い込みなんだろうぜ。ガキだからって油断すんなよ。囚人どもはどいつも俺たちを食っちまう化け物の可能性があるんだぜ。だからこそ
それを見極めるのが看守の役目だというのだろう。まるで保護者だな、ジャッカロープ。
へえ、分かってんなら構わねえよ。次、囚人番号9番、茅野美琴。男だ。特に特徴がなくて言うことねえな。量産型って感じ。
逆に気になる。
最後が囚人番号10番、譲り葉琴子。こいつは要注意だな。見るからにただものじゃなさそうな女だった。
これで10人か。
これで囚人紹介は終わりだな。ま、あとは実際話して確かめろよ。
ジャッカロープ。
あ
そこは11時の位置。あの部屋には 囚人はいないのか？他の部屋の扉よりも古いな。錆びついている。外側からの情もない。
ああ、そこはいい。何もない。
それは何の音だ？
時間だな。囚人どもが目覚めるぞ。
Okay, so we noted that the 11 o'clock door existed on that map before, but was numbered 000. Here we learn it's old, it's rusty, there's no lock, and then we're interrupted before we can ask or examine more about it. So that definitely has some connotations. I'm not sure what they are, but it's super suspicious. We don't know the general state of this place yet. So maybe all of it is like poorly kept, but I think we would have heard or seen something about that. The room we were in at least looked really nice. So for one of the cells to be empty, to be rusted, and to have the lock removed means that probably a long time ago it was stopped being used. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what this could imply. It's definitely been left alone intentionally. There's also, I suppose, the implication that this has been going on long enough for a door to rust, which I don't think happens very quickly. So very, like, a lot of years, at least, for this prison to be operating. And throughout that time, one place was intentionally neglected. How strange. Also, here the Jackalope is telling us, no matter what, any qualms we have, any confusions, any doubt, kill them all. This is after he has several times said that he doesn't even know if they are guilty. So it's strange, especially when he told us he would vote one of them at least innocent, that he still wants us to kill them all.
ついに顔を合わせってわけだ。いいが、お前自身が持つ不安や戸惑いや疑問は全て殺せ。お前は看守なんだ。恐れるな。囚人どもにとっての権威と恐怖であれ。
言われるまでもないよ、ジャッカロープ。僕はミルグラムの看守だ。僕にはそれしかない。それに実は今少しだけ楽しみなんだ。ここに集められた囚人たちと出会うのが。
Again, a pretty unnatural reaction for someone to wake up and have no memory and be so gung-ho about this. So I don't think our reaction here is our own. I think it's very heavily being influenced by MILGRAM. Or we might just be kind of a psychopath. That's also possible.
そして彼らの罪を知るのがお前の言う。
It's also interesting, I don't think it's ever said the word crime. I think it's always referred to it as sin. And that might be a translation quirk, but I think it's more likely an intentional decision. And that there's this religious implication in sin, that there is someone who can judge others based on morality and right and wrong and things that are almost like definitive truths of the universe, or at least definitive truths of that higher person's will, rather than a social construct or something created by a society. So they're not referred to as criminals. They are referred to as murderers. but not ones who have committed a crime, ones whose sins are unknown. It makes me wonder if MILGRAM is kind of like a cult almost, and this is some kind of cultish indoctrination, and they are trying to foster a mindset in us of being above other people, being able to judge other people in like a religious authoritative capacity. Or maybe they're not trying to foster that in us as much as that's just what exists among them, and we're kind of slotting into that.
通り、僕は僕の意志で彼らの罪を暴こう。僕はどう感じるんだろう。許したい。許したくない。どう思うんだろう。僕は彼らを通して僕自身のことも知りたいんだ。
エース、哀れなことだ。来るぞ。ぶちかましてやんな。
ああ、監視としての初仕事と行こう。ごきげんよう、囚人諸君。
So
僕の名前は S。
we hear S saying that they want to learn the truth, and I think that that is the line that Jackalope responds to, saying how pitiful. And I think it might be because there isn't a truth. I wondered at first if the process of extracting memories was biased. I'm starting to wonder, though, if it's not so much that there's a bias as much as everything here is an invention. Maybe even the prisoners. And that the reason why things get influenced based on our votes isn't because there's a bias leaning towards or away from our conclusions, but because it's literally creating new things to match what we are thinking. And Jackalope says it's pitiful that we're looking for the truth because he knows that truth just has nothing to do with where we're at. And it would also make sense why he's so gung-ho about us killing everyone and just not even bothering to examine things, just go off your gut reactions, because if everything is invented, then what's the point of trying? Like, why would we bother putting in effort to seek the truth when truth is a concept that doesn't belong here? I don't think that has a ton of support right now, but I feel like there are some things that point to it being a possibility, and I want to keep an eye out for it in the future.
この監獄の監視をしている。ここは監獄ミルグラム。お前たち10人の罪を裁くために存在する。僕がお前たちについて知っていることは少ない。知っているのは、お前たち全員人殺しだということだけ。他のことはこれからゆっくり教えてもらうさ。改めて、ようこそミルグラムへ。良き監獄生活を。
All right. We've got 2 videos left here in the introduction. I think they're both music videos. So we're finally getting into kind of the meat of what this group is doing, this prison is doing, which is extracting memories from people and turning them into music videos. I'm interested in the title here, S Undercover. First of all, because that implies that this is our memory that's being turned into a music video, which would make sense if they've already taken all our memories away. Undercover is a really strange word for them to use. I don't understand the implications of it. I want to re-examine that after seeing some of this music video, but I feel like it means that something... I feel like it means something. I don't know what yet. So let's watch and see if we can get some information. Okay, so we see a bunch of these boxes. That first box had the number 000 on it, which matched up to our 11 o'clock room that didn't have anyone there. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 boxes. So that would match up to all of the rooms we've seen. I don't know what they are yet, or what this structure is that S is sitting on. But they clearly relate to the prisoners. It doesn't help that the box that was opened was empty, and the cell that it corresponded to is empty. So I wonder if we'll get a look inside of some of the more relevant boxes soon. Okay. Is this saying he's 7 feet tall? What? Why is he so tall? I feel like that has to be what this is, but I'm really confused why they're using imperial to measure him when everything has been in Japanese so far. And it's enough that I'm thinking I might be wrong, because 7 feet is ridiculously tall. So I guess we'll see if everyone else skews taller than we would expect. But maybe this guy's just a giant. She's 6 feet tall. Okay, something's going on with these stairs. Before they were in the top right, now they're in the bottom right. This room is so confusing. But yeah, she's also way taller than you would expect. But not necessarily freakishly so like the dude. I wonder if these cards have anything relevant. Looks like not really. He's really tall. Yeah, either everyone here is gigantic, or this is not actually imperial. And these mean something different than like 6 feet 6 inches here. But I have no idea what else it would be, because it looks exactly like you would see from imperial. This guy is like a chair setup instead of stairs. And also here. It's really weird that all of the cells have strange corners and stair protrusions like that. Was hers signed? Yeah, there's like a signature or something on hers. Weird. Also, she's really tall. Okay, anything notable here? This looks like probably that big room that we haven't identified yet. We saw in that first video what was either a window or a painting, and it had a giant red spherical object in the sky. It looks like that was actually just a window, or I guess we're still inside here, so once again, it could just be a painting. This doesn't necessarily have to be looking outside. But in either case, it seems like this giant sun or red moon or something is taking up the view and is either an artistic image being intentionally projected for everyone to feel accustomed to, or it's what is actually outside, in which case this is not Earth, or maybe Earth in the far future. Let's see here. We see lots of them just standing here. It's like a lot of rubble in this room. Broken bars. But not a lot of stuff with meaning. Okay, 5-foot elementary school student, 6th grader, I believe. And her backpack would be a foot tall? That actually sounds reasonable. What the heck? I'm so confused by these measurements. I don't think they're offset or anything. Why is everyone so tall? Oh, this is interesting stuff. Oh, not what I wanted to do. I want to go back frames. So, we see just normal toys, and crayons and stuff. Someone walking in an alley around normal looking buildings. We see the sky. There's no sun in this sky, but it's not like red. So that makes me think there is not a giant red sun here, and what we've seen so far are just paintings or images projected onto the inside. Should make sense, so we're probably on Earth. Anything here? Why did you... There we go. I wish I spoke Japanese so I could read some of this. Not that it would probably matter. Nothing of note there. I think that's Japan, though. Like, that looks like a Japanese house. At least a Japanese house according to anime, which is about as much familiarity as I've got. What do we see in here? I cannot tell what's going on in this shot. These look like doctor's supplies. Okay, I got distracted. There's some images here getting projected, but they're too blurry for me to make anything out here. Yeah, I can't really tell what's going on. Okay, that looked notable. That's the guard uniform, right? I don't think that's what we look like. In a prisoner choking out or killing the guard. And then just a shot of that closer up. This is just like a lot of ways that we could die. This one kind of looks like she's taking a shit all over us. Like she is like that looks like bird poop coming out of her. Right onto us. Presumably us. Because they've got the keys, they've got the guard uniform. Some of these people look distraught over our death. And some of them look like they're causing it. Okay, that was a lot to take in. My best guess is that we are... Can I get a shot of our face? I guess that kind of looks like us in that last area. So undercover, theme of the song, name of the song, but it's coming from us. These are supposed to be taken from our memories. And I don't think that you can take someone's memories and turn them into a music video and expect it to be a realistic interpretation of them. I'm thinking that they probably didn't just go and grab everyone who is gigantic off the streets and throw them in here. I'm thinking that this is a sign that we're not seeing reality being accurately portrayed. Because these heights just don't make sense if this is Imperial. And these little symbols are not Imperial. Honestly, it doesn't make sense with metric either. 7 meters tall would be, like, ridiculous. But, yeah, so I don't know what these symbols are, but I can't figure out what else this would mean except Imperials. So it has to be 7 feet or 6 foot 6 inches. But there's just too many people who are too tall. So I don't buy it. I think it's a sign that we are not seeing reality. That it looks like our perspective of these prisoners is warped. It's also interesting that we have a memory of these prisoners to take in the first place. I'm guessing we didn't get introduced to all of them and then have our memory taken immediately after that. I feel like this has to be the memory that we've lost. Especially because if they're taking mugshots, then that means that they are just processing them. Oh, look, hers was signed too. Maybe they were all signed and I just missed that. But yeah, so if they're just processing them, but we have memories of them anyway, then that means that we've lost memories and have met these guys in the past. We basically have three things here. We've got the mugshot areas where we're seeing people in their cells. And then we've got this spooky room where we have pretty ominous imagery of all of the people who look surprised or angry, and there's lots of rubble strewn around. And then we've got a couple of shots of the real world. But these don't look like they're us. So I don't know what these are about. In any case, I wonder if these are shots of us taking people. Because this would match with the kid. I'm not good enough at matching up silhouettes to try and see if the rest of these match. But they're all kind of ominous. What stands out to me, though, is that if we have missing memories of all of this stuff, the song is called Undercover, and then we see what appears to be memories of us dying or being beat up repeatedly. And I don't want to pause on the bird poop shot. Let's find, yeah, so we're, oh my gosh, I'm so bad at this. We're seeing shots of us dying or being beat up repeatedly, but supposedly they can't do that to administrators. So I wonder if we went undercover among the prisoners. The reason why we see the box opening at the start and end of this, opening and then closing at the start and end of this with number 000, is because that's where we were. And that we were this 11th prisoner who was undercover trying to learn things, and it went poorly. And so they took our memory and they transitioned us to the role of the guard. But there were a lot of deaths there, or a lot of incidents at least, which makes me think that they have either done this multiple times. Maybe they've like wiped everyone's memory and then sent me in over and over again. Or maybe you just had a pervasively bad experience with everyone and this is how it's represented. But that's my guess, is that it mostly based on Undercover, the name and the lyrics. Because I'm not sure how else we could be undercover as a guard. Like, none of these visuals or lyrics make sense with them sending us undercover into MILGRAM. So I don't think that's it. And then especially with this box here, we don't know how these relate to the prisoners, but it's clear they do. So I think that this means we have to have been a prisoner in the past, a fake one, to try and learn more or experience things in a way similar to how the prisoners do. Yeah, let's see what this last song has for us. Okay, so is this like a preview of all of the songs we're going to get for all of these people? I have a feeling I'm not going to have much to say for this video if that's the case, because most of the detail is going to be in these specific songs. They're not going to give us the main details in the previews. I'll try and keep my eye out for stuff, though. That girl is so sad. I just feel so bad for her. She seems so abused. Wait, I would like to receive the death penalty? This was the guy who just told us to kill him and be over with it, right? Seems like he's definitely suicidal or something. Man, I'm feeling bad because I have no commentary here. Like, none of this is giving me any details about the world. The most I can say is that so many of these songs sound completely innocent. Like, they have nothing to do with crime or sin or murder or anything like that. They're just like the mindset of these people in general. I guess if that's what we're being given to work off of, it really reinforces the fact that we're not here to solve a crime or to punish sinners. We're here for something else. And right now, that something is forming opinions about people based on who they are, based on their personality, the kind of impressions we get on them. But it's not based on any of the surface level things that you would expect from a prison guard or judge or whatever our job is. Yeah, once again, just saying that everything they've designed here at MILGRAM seems to be at odds with its express purpose. He was the only one who seems to, like, have anything to do with the situation. No one else has seemed to acknowledge it in any way, whereas he seems to be all about it. Which is confusing to me, because if we're just getting a glimpse of their memories and personalities, the fact that his are so pointed towards prison makes me think that he doesn't have much going on with his life in general. Since this is the big all-encompassing incident that seems to have been extracted from him. Huh, yeah, well, sorry to end it on a really weak note. I liked the songs, like, they sounded great, but I didn't have much to say because we only got a few seconds of each of them. I'm interested to see each of them in detail and see what we can learn, but I feel like we were really... This was just a big teaser rather than giving us anything concrete. So yeah, with that, I guess I'm done. Done for today. I will get back into this next time with our first trial, looking at the first prisoner. But yeah, I'm excited to see what more we learn about it. Things are very sinister feeling. It's very confusing. Like, things are definitely not meant to be taken at face value. But it's not giving us a lot to work with yet in terms of how they actually are and how they actually operate. Hopefully we get more of that picture in future episodes. For now, if you enjoyed watching that, stick around, and next time we will take a deeper dive into the series. Thank you so much for your support and interest.